Galaxy Note may have been the de facto pioneer of the phablet era of smartphones. But these days, as bezels shrink on devices, so too do the lines between phablets and regular-sized phones. Such is the case with LG's G7 ThinQ. With a screen that's only 0.3 inches smaller than the Galaxy Note 9, the G7 ThinQ might be picking a fight with a competitor out of its class. Or, perhaps, is it the other way around? The G7 size doesn't actually differ all that much from the Note 9. Only a few tenths of an inch separate these two in terms of body dimensions. But the Note 9 does plainly appear larger, and it is also slightly heavier. The notched display and more rounded edges of the G7 ThinQ make it look like a lot of recently released phones. Whereas the squarer Galaxy Note 9 retains its unique shape with curved edges and seemingly infinitely shrinking bezels. In this regard, the Galaxy Note 9 looks more original without looking dated, despite its mostly unchanged design language versus last year's Note 8. Looking past the shape, these displays are real lookers. The Note 9's Super AMOLED display pulls off rich colors and sharp details, while the G7 has similar color saturation, albeit slightly less punched up with its IPS LCD. The G7 also has a trick up its sleeve in that it can reach 1000 nits of brightness for short periods of time, making this the easiest phone to see in direct sunlight, a distinction the Note 9 can't take away, no matter how nice and big its own screen is. As far as performance goes, both the G7 ThinQ and Galaxy Note 9 sport the latest Snapdragon 845. The Note 9, however, starts with 6 GB of RAM and 128 GB storage, versus the G7 ThinQ's 4 GB RAM and 64 GB storage. Not to mention that the step up for the Note 9 quadruples storage to 512 and ups RAM to 8 GB, while only certain parts of the world can opt for an LG G7 Plus with 6 GB RAM and 128 GB storage. The edge here goes to the Note 9, but of course benchmarks in day-to-day use may tell a slightly different story, as software can make a difference. Speaking of which, Samsung and LG are two manufacturers that prefer to tweak Android to their own tastes, and we've liked what we've seen from both companies in the past. While the G7 ThinQ relies heavily on the AI aspect of its marketing, it doesn't have a whole lot of features that separate it from most any other high-level flagship. Compared to the Note 9 experience, there really isn't much of a comparison. By no means is the G7 ThinQ bad, but Samsung's striving to do a lot with the Note 9. The S Pen has graduated from a writing utensil to a remote control, and snapping selfies with it, controlling media playback, and of course taking notes with it is a fun, unparalleled experience. The availability of Samsung DeX via only an HDMI cable only further separates it from the G7 ThinQ and the rest of the phablets. Even Bixby may be another value proposition worth considering, with its app partnerships and bolstered functionality. The choice seems pretty clear. If you want features, the Galaxy Note 9 is the way to go. Spec for spec, the cameras seem to be the most exciting aspect of this face-off. The G7's optically stabilized 16-megapixel cameras, one regular and one wide-angle, sound like a daunting opponent to the Galaxy Note 9, which uses the same lens pairing but with 12 megapixels on each camera and variable aperture for the wide-angle lens. Features are quite similar too. Both utilize scene recognition features to optimize the shot, and both have portrait and manual camera modes for optimal creative control. Cameras on these devices are quite formidable, but we'll reserve judgment until we can put them through their proper paces. The G7 ThinQ does edge out the Galaxy Note 9 in video recording features though, with its manual recording modes and support for HDR10 4K video capture. These are two features the Note 9 can't match, though it does support super slow-mo at 960 frames per second. So, the sizes aren't much different, but what do these devices do differently with that space? In the case of the G7 ThinQ, not much. While the Galaxy Note 9 offers paired app launching, Samsung DeX support, and a plethora of writing and drawing features, it's hard to call anything else a phablet when competitors have nothing of the like to offer. If the camera and battery life can deliver, we anticipate performance will follow. And if that is the case, then we think the choice between the G7 ThinQ and Galaxy Note 9 is quite clear if you want a phablet. What do you think? I'm Corey Gaskin with PhoneArena. Thanks for watching, and be sure to stay tuned to PhoneArena.com for more content like this and our full review.